Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Hello there, and happy Wednesday. Welcome to Run It Back. Look who's here, Danny Green is back. Chandler, Michelle, sending our love out to Lou. He's got some stuff going on today, so we got him all the good luck in the world. But we do have a lot of basketball to get to. There were 4 games last night, which, by the way, not acceptable on a Tuesday. I did not love that.
Starting at 3 o'clock.
Starting at 3 o'clock.
Overlapping.
You couldn't find one. Like, it was just a hot mess. But we will start with that first one. Pacers and Bucks. Man, it looked like Milwaukee had some life left in them, but alas. Pacers win the series 4-1. Tyrese, 26. Miles Turner, 21 and 9. Giannis did finish with 30 points, 20 rebounds, 13 assists. His 4th career triple-double playoffs. But Gary Trent Jr. had an emotional roller coaster. 33 points. The Bucks were up 118 to 111 with 40 seconds left in overtime and lost. And I realize there are certain words in sports we're not supposed to say out loud, like choke, Chandler, but I don't know how else to describe this.
Yeah, it's hard not to use that word. It was just an absolute meltdown. There were so many plays, this one in particular, that's just a mental lapse there. You catch that ball, you make 2 free throws, the game is pretty much over. It allows the Bucks to then go and foul. And I don't want to take anything away from Gary Trent and what he did to even keep this team in the game. It was unbelievable. I literally tweeted, Gary Trent, like, my God, keep the series alive. And 8 minutes later, I had to kind of rebuttal and be like, holy smokes. There were so many plays where I thought this game was over, and credit to the Pacers. They had an ATO where Neesmith hit a big 3, Nembhard hit a big 3, Haliburton got easy, quick buckets going downhill. They forced some turnovers, but man, this is tough because this series should be going back to Milwaukee. Gary Trent was unbelievable. Giannis was unbelievable. You know, AJ Green was unbelievable. Like, guys did enough to win this game, and they absolutely smoked it. I don't know if I've seen a meltdown like this in quite some time. 7
points up in 40 seconds, Danny.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
I mean, if you don't want to use the word choke,
what else
that's why I keep using meltdown.
Meltdown's a nice one.
The only other way to
Collapse.
put it. I mean, Giannis got the help that he was looking for, right? Gary Trent Jr. gets 33. AJ Green had 19. 6 for 10. He also, there were some glaring mistakes, and most of them came from the defensive end. AJ Green missed the free throw. Of course, Gary Trent put them up, but he also had 2 turnovers.
That's the problem.
But defensively, I saw Tyrese Haliburton at the rim too many times at the end of regulation and the end of overtime. He got a dunk to tie the game going right. And no, the scouting report is make him go left. He gets to his right hand for a dunk to tie the game and a layup to win the game. And then he had an N1, AJ Green give up an N1. If you're going to foul him, don't let him get him up. If you're going to let him go, let him go. Can't give him an N1, can't let him get to the basket. And 2 of those plays were on Giannis. He got to his right hand on Giannis. And in the 3-ball that Nembhard hit, come off the screen, you're supposed to switch or be up. Didn't even get contested. That was uncontested by Giannis. It was another 3. So a couple mistakes by everybody all around. And not a choke, but a meltdown.
I'll say it was an interesting game plan for the Pacers towards the end there. They basically would get a switch and get Giannis on the ball to take him away from the rim.
Right.
And they had success doing it. Haliburton kept beating him off the dribble. There was no rim protection, and then he found ways to finish. And I think the Bucks kind of thought like we did, where this game is kind of over.
It did feel like it was over.
There was almost
we
live another day. Like
just don't play defense, but don't foul, and they just let him get easy basket after easy basket.
And they had a foul to give. I don't know if you see Doc was yelling to whoever else. AJ got the N1. He fouled him at the basket. You had a foul to give. You could have fouled him away from the basket or earlier in the possession. But they didn't use that wisely. They really did.
It was chaos. It was a chaotic ending. I don't know. You know, Doc's gonna get a lot of questions about.
I didn't think they were gonna win the series anyway. So if you're gonna go home, might as well go home earlier. But I guess you could extend.
Is that really the attitude?
There's some positives to it.
Well, they clearly were trying not to go home. I think that's what hurts.
And by the way, you win this game, Danny. You know this. All the pressure goes back to Indiana. You're back on your home floor. Like, I know Dame's out, and that's a huge blow, and he's probably gonna miss all next year.
I'm trying to find a positive for them.
They win this game. It shifts a little bit back to Milwaukee's favor. And again, Indiana was great all series long. They deserve to win this series, but this game here, it does feel like that. It feels like, all right, well, we're not going to win, 3 in a row anyways. Let's just pack it in.
But it didn't feel like that. It wasn't like watching Miami play. This was like, no, they were in it. They had it won.
This game, but
like clearly they were fighting for something.
They weren't going to win after that because you're not going to get another 33 from Gary Trent. AJ Green, another 19. Like, you need help from, you had the Kuz or Taurean Prince or somebody else step up, which it just wasn't happening most of the series. And Dame is out. So they were going to lose, if not that game, the next game. That was not going to extend it any further than that.
How bad a loss is this for Doc? He's had some rough ones.
I mean,
this one's up there, no?
It's not great.
It's
a
bad loss, but it's not up. He's had quite a few.
Yeah.
Not the up 3-1. It's not the up 3-1 series.
But not that.
Again, this is a series that they were underdogs. It's a series where they lose their second best player, arguably the first best player on certain nights. They were down 3-1. Again, this series was pretty much a wash, but man, to end it the way it did after such a good performance, after doing enough to win the game, getting such a big game from Trent and AJ Green, this production, Giannis playing through injury too. I feel like he was down every possession, trying to do this. He even said afterward, we wanted to win this for Dame.
And then, of course, the fight and the scrapping. But
well, let's get to that.
If this is Giannis's last game in a Milwaukee Buck uniform, this
weird
is
ending.
one of the worst ways for him to leave.
It's like a really weird ending for a. I mean, look, and it might not be. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Who knows what's going to happen? But a lot of people last night felt like perhaps that was the last time we'd see him in a Bucks uniform, which is odd because it was him and Tyrese Halliburton's dad's face in that uniform, which again was very bizarre. But this comes right after this game ends, and what you see is Giannis and John Halliburton getting heated. Giannis has to be pulled back at one point, which is, I mean, that's a weird stance to begin with. All right, Danny, I'll start with you. What'd you think when you? That's weird. What'd you when you saw this? What the heck?
I like Pat Connaughton running over, if that's who that was, getting in the middle and separating them. This is over the line. I mean, I think he sent out an apology this morning.
John Halliburton did, yeah.
And Tyrese spoke on it last night. Giannis kept his cool. He kept it respectful. He later on let it be known his frustrations at the podium of how this was disrespectful. They had words exchanged, and at the end of it, I don't know if you've seen a close-up, he did show his love for him. He did say, I think he said, I loved you after that. He showed his, it's a
Who said I love you?
Giannis did right here.
That's so lovely.
On his way out.
With his forehead on his head, he said, I love you? Oh, that's nice.
There you go. Love you. You know what I'm saying?
I can't. And men are weird. That's weird.
So, yes, competitiveness is a great thing. We like the fire and the fierceness between players, but this is no room for fans or family to get involved. The whole Mathurin thing kind of got talked about. It got kind of washed or pushed under the rug, which we forget. But that was more intense than this one. But yes, this was uncalled for, and I think he knew that. That's why he issued the apology.
Why is his dad? What's his dad doing?
Yeah, let me tell you. First of all, Giannis handled this about as good as you can on the floor and in the media afterwards. And listen, as a father, I understand. You are so hyped. You are excited. I know Tyrese Halliburton. He's an awesome dude.
Dad's at every game.
Dad's at every game cheering him on.
Yep.
This is unacceptable, and I love how everyone owned up to this. Everyone said, look, this was wrong. There's no room for this. My question is, like, where's the security at the arena? Like, this isn't college. You don't just allow teams to storm the court. You don't allow this.
Yeah.
So now what if this were to escalate? What if Giannis would have punched him in the face?
Right.
And
they didn't know if he was
and who cares if he did know? Even if he did know it was? Why is this dude on the court? Like,
there's no real,
shit to me.
There's no space.
There is no room for this because Giannis, give him credit. If you did this to someone else after a loss, after that comeback and that meltdown, and your series and your season is over, and some dude runs on the court, at that point it's self-defense. So like the security's got to be better. I don't care if it's a brother, a dad, anybody. You cannot allow someone to run on the court when someone's season just ended in the fashion that theirs did. So flowers to Giannis for not even allowing it to get to that point, but you got to be better as a fan. Just because you buy a ticket, I don't care if you're related to a player, if you're courtside, whatever, you cannot just run on the court.
But usually ushers are in place with seconds to spare before the clock runs out.
Yeah, they're there.
I don't know if it's just because it's Tyrese's dad and he's allowed, but there were a lot of people on the floor.
I think he just slid by him. I don't think the guy was standing at the basket. But, we learned some lessons from Malice in the Palace, and that's why.
Did we? Because it feels like we didn't.
Because if we didn't, I think this would have turned out differently. Now guys know not to interact with fans a certain way.
Or if it was a different person, if this was Isaiah Stewart or Draymond or someone like that, they're probably getting punched in the face. Like, you cannot do this.
And then Tyrese's dad's been punched, and now it's a whole
And there's consequences for Tyrese because his dad, this is just all
the Malice in the Palace, I think guys know not to hit fans anymore.
I don't know if every guy.
But are you thinking straight when you just had the worst meltdown meltdown
And
in the
there's a
history
guy
of the
in your
NBA, and your
face.
season's over, and some dude you've never seen
I
before?
would like to think a professional athlete, when an older man comes up to you, you don't think my first reaction is to,
Yeah, okay, so
don't know.
what if it was a 25? What if it was a 25-year-old?
that's a little different, but if it's said as a fan, they're not, you like, it's not worth my, now as another athlete, now it's a little bit more like the competitive nature, it's an alpha thing. You know, you don't look at another fan as like somebody that needs to be checked or put in their place in that sense.
I'm just
It was
fans
weird.
overall need to be
You hope
better.
not anyway.
Security needs better. This is unacceptable in this
Yes.
sport.
And maybe Papa Haliburton will just be like, I should give it a few seconds.
Put the tequila down and
Before-
just cheer for your
before I
kid and
run
stay
out
your ass
there.
off the court.
No, because he's there. I think it's his fiance. They sit in those same seats like every single game, so they're always there. It's always a thing afterwards. But that was weird. Haliburton, by the way, was 1 for 7 from 3 in this thing in overtime before he went ahead and scored the final 5 and the game winner. So you know, kind of one of those where we saw Gary Trent Jr. go from top to bottom. We kind of saw Haliburton do the opposite. Would you agree?
Yeah, and there was a one possession, I think, where he shot 2 threes in a row, got an offensive rebound, shot another 3, and then he figured out I have success kind of getting to the rim here, getting a switch, pulling Giannis away from the hoop like I talked about, and then being able to be crafty and finish at the rim like he did. And when a team has a lead like this, they kind of take their foot off the gas. The last thing they want to do is foul in a situation like this. So Haliburton was brilliant to see him not settle, get downhill. Maybe someone collapsed and you could find a shooter for an open look, but he did what he had to do to get a quick bucket and to put this kind of game, you know, on ice there. But the settling for the threes, he did get in a little bit of trouble there, and he was trying to kind of match Trent going back and forth.
Sure.
And this was clearly the key to success for their offense down the stretch, and he made some huge plays.
Yeah, I mean, totally redeemed himself.
You have redeemed yourself.
Because if
Just
they
what
lose
I
this
thought.
game, and it's because of him or because he shot them out of the game, no, the fan base would not be happy. A lot of the media, obviously, there's a lot
Crushed
of
him.
talk about him being the most overrated player. Everybody's been talking about. This would have probably kind of stamped this even more, that statement, which I don't agree with. But yes, he definitely redeemed himself, showed that he can be the guy to make the plays at the end of the game, not only in overtime, but in regulation. Said he got the game-winning, game-tying dunk at the rim and made plays. So he got N1 with his left hit going to his left. He just made some great plays for them, and the game pretty much won the game for them, which,
Save the best for last.
you know, nobody's calling him overrated right now.
No, not today. They are not. We're going to get to what might happen next, but before we do that, just take a minute here, Chandler, to sort of appreciate Giannis in this series. He's obviously in a weird situation there, but he averaged 33, 15, and 7 assists over 5 games. I mean,
Unbelievable.
so let's start with the positive.
Look at those numbers. He's playing through injury. He was banged up every possession, I feel like, during that game, and he never once took his foot off the gas. He's one of the most dominating forces we've ever seen in the history of the NBA. The way he can get downhill, the way he can create, the way he gets to the free throw line. He was great last night from the free throw line. I think he was
Yeah, he
11
shot
he ended up missing somebody. He was 11 or 17, but he continues just to put pressure on. He's a two-way player. He is unbelievable, and honestly, I feel for him because he gets the trade for Dame. He trades Chris Middleton away from Kyle Kuzma, who really struggled in this series, averaging 6 points a game. And now the way this ended, there's always been the talk, the rumors about does he leave, does he go? It's going to take a boatload for someone to acquire Giannis, but man, he is great. There's a reason why he was a top 5 player, top 3 player, always in the MVP talk, first team All NBA. Like, he is fantastic, and he continues to do that. I think he's 30 years old, so we have more years of this to continue his dominance. But man, he's unbelievable. Some of the plays, I didn't love his game at the end of regulation, the fadeaway. I think AJ Green was wide open, but again, when you're the Bucks and Dame's out, you're living with that shot.
Danny, look, if he does this, he's going to have to quietly ask for a trade, right? Like, I don't think he's going to go out and throw a tantrum,
yeah,
right? So what do you think he's thinking that's going to happen?
I mean, these numbers that he's putting up right now, we're not going to see this last for a very long time. His window is about 3 years at best of doing this. So if he wants to win again and he wants to be competitive, he's going to have to explore that option. He's going to have that conversation. But if he just wants to, play with his brother and live out and, be a legend in Milwaukee and stay there and finish his career with the team that he started with, everybody would still respect it and love him regardless. But I think he's a guy that wants to win. So if you want to win, you have to explore the option of doing it elsewhere, because right now you can't do it in Milwaukee, especially with the fact that Dame is out with that Achilles injury, and he's going to be out for all of next season too with that Achilles injury. But so if I'm Giannis and I want to win,
Quietly asking.
I say, all right, let's see what options do we have here. What can we do? can we bring in another star? If not, you know, where can I go?
I mean,
It
could they?
reminds me, I don't know how they could do that, but it
no
reminds me of the Dame situation in Portland, but even more so because this dude won a championship in Milwaukee.
Right.
And he has done everything this franchise has asked for. He is everything to him. So I think they do need to have some honest, real conversations. The future is very unknown for them. They don't control their own pick till 2031.
That's insane.
It's going to take a boatload to get Giannis. And again, like Dame just said, I don't know if his game is going to continue to age great the way it's going. Listen, he's still got years of athleticism and dominance. He's still going to be good for quite some time. But this is a tough break. You got Dame now probably out all next year. Like, is this going to be what team can he go where he can actually win? I know people say the Nets, but like, why would he want to go to the Nets? They are not in a great shape. And again,
This is Milwaukee in a better city.
Yeah, like they could build a team around him. There's teams like the Rockets that have a lot of assets. They go to the Rockets.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's someone like that. Golden State, I don't think they have enough, but there are some suitors that could make sense for him. But if I'm Giannis, I want to maximize these next 2 to 3 years of my great athleticism and great production while I can. And I don't know if that's going to be in Milwaukee with what they got going on right now.
I mean, maybe this sounds crazy, but does he even have to ask for the trade? Is there a possibility that the Bucks are like, we might need to just
even if
blow
he,
it
by
up?
the way, even if he asked for a trade, can Milwaukee be mad at him? Everything he's done, everything like.
But also, couldn't the team say, we love you, but we're going to see if we can get you a better spot?
There's going to have to be some real, honest conversations. Like, look,
On both sides.
what do we want?
It
Do we
makes
want to
sense for
keep
both sides.
Doc? Do you want to bring in a different coach? What coach will take this job?
Another coach?
What coach
How is
would even
that
want to
probably-
take this job if Doc's out? That we don't even know the
got
future
lucky
of our
Bud got
team.
picked
How
up.
about we do
Phoenix.
no coach, see what happens? Because this feels like
Giannis,
this is
do
not
you
being
want a
problem.
coach?
Do you want to give it a shot?
Anything.
Your
to stay.
brother.
Yeah,
Your brother
anybody.
could coach.
Anybody.
Speaking of Doc, by the way, so 1.5 seasons, 65 and 53 is his total record, and 2 first-round exits. Look, I don't even want to ask this, but are we really going to fire another coach? Like,
They got lucky with the fact that Bud got picked up by Phoenix, so they're off the books for that coach. They're still paying Adrian Griffin, and they have Doc, and they have to pay Doc for the next 3 years, I'm assuming, after this. So there's still a healthy invoice that they have to cover if they hire another coach. But if you're going to fire your coach, this is the time to do it, because there are some good candidates out there.
True.
Mike Malone and Taylor
Jenkins, Mike Brown.
But they don't know what they're walking into. So it's sort of
That's the thing.
just
Do
a
one of those 3 guys take this job, not knowing if Giannis is there? Like,
Do you want to be
Do you
home
want
or do you
that
want a
job?
job?
But do you
basically?
want that job if you have no idea what it looks like? I don't know. I
There's
think
certain
you're
guys that
getting
are fit
paid,
for it.
so
yeah.
just,
Do you want a job? Do you want to coach? Some of them said they love the game, they love the passion for it, and they want to take on that challenge. I don't know if everybody would want the job. Some of them, a few of them will, but you have options to explore. And some of them are in good positions where they can just be at home and not have to coach. Some of them probably want.
And listen, Doc Rivers isn't the reason why Gary Trent dropped that pass
He really
by the
isn't.
bench. Like, he's not the real. Like, so again, could he have handled some situations differently, some rotations, some timeouts early on? Sure.
No, that's definitely not on Doc.
This is not on Doc.
2
And
turnovers,
by the way, this was the
missed free
team
throws,
earlier in the season that
bad
we were.
defense, didn't foul when you had a foul.
Yeah, that's not him. That's not on him.
This is the team earlier that we were ready to write off, talking about the Giannis trades 3 months ago. Then they go to Vegas, they win the tournament. Then we're all of a sudden back on them. And again, they've been through so much adversity. Then Damian Lillard goes
Bobby
down.
Portis was out for the last
Bobby
25.
Portis
Yep.
gets suspended for 25 games. So this team has gone through a lot. So it's the Dame thing really hurts. And I think that kind of kickstarts maybe these conversations about, wow, what do we do without that? Especially him missing the majority of next year. But if that never happened, I think this team, builds it and adds some pieces and looks forward to next year. Now with Damian Lillard out next year, I think that's where kind of
That's a gut punch.
start from scratch, start over type of conversations start happening.
God, Damian Lillard comes back. What's he even going to come back to? Like, there's so much
He's
up in the air.
35. It's tough.
I know. That's a rough one. We had another game last night. Thought it was going to be a little closer. Did not get the buzzer beater we were hoping for at all, by the way. Denver just crushes the Clippers. They got the 3-2 lead in that series, a 131-115 final. Jamal Murray with 43 points, 7 assists. He was 8 of 14 from 3. Jokic finished with 13, 10, and 12. That's a triple-double, in case you're wondering. Russell Westbrook had 21 off the bench.
James Harden, no 10 assists, is the only reason we smoked the parlay.
And by the way, didn't y'all say that was the one that was like, I don't know. But playoff Murray, playoff Jamal, whatever you want to call him, he is here. The 8 threes is crazy. He now has the most 40-point-plus playoff games in Nuggets history. It's crazy to me because we all know the narrative, right? Like we spent the regular season going, man, I really wish Jamal Murray would kind of wake up and show. But in the backs of our minds, we all were like, but when the playoffs start, that's when we can count on him. And then he drops 40.
In the backs of them.
In our backs of our minds. No?
It is. It's crazy that if you're breaking records that Jokic doesn't have, like if you're doing records that Jokic isn't.
Only had
like,
one free throw.
You're
so
doing
that was a record as well.
You're doing something unbelievable. And I've always said this team is best when Jokic does this. And he does a little bit of everything, and he's playmaking, he's facilitating, and everyone else who gets involved. You have Christian Brown doing, his thing going downhill. Westbrook had an unbelievable first half yesterday. He got them kind of off to that big lead. Porter making shots, Aaron Gordon on the glass, and then you have Jamal Murray, who's so good in the playoffs. And again, he gets a lot of flack for the regular season. The guy's never been an all-star, which is crazy. He's one of the best players to never be an all-star. But he's got a gear that he turns on, and he is better in the playoffs. So as a fan, as a coach, as a general manager, I would prefer that. Let Jokic take us to the regular season, and then let me, untap this monster in the playoffs. And that is what he continues to do. He's great. He gets everyone involved still. He's aggressive. He makes shots. It's exactly the format I think that they need for them to be playing the best basketball. And they beat the brakes off them last night. It was, and
was not
Clippers are so good defensively, and they got whatever they wanted last night. So the Clippers really got to adjust in Game 6. Or it's a wrap. I
mean, they just got to play better. I don't think there's many adjustments. I needed more from Norm and James Harden.
Yeah.
And then Kawhi. You know, Kawhi wasn't his normal Kawhi, or the Kawhi that we expect him to be, which is a topic we'll talk about later, of when he's healthy and how efficient he is. But they just didn't play great all around offensively. But give a lot of credit to Denver. If they want to give themselves a chance at any point against OKC in the next round, Jamal Murray's going to have to play like this.
That's
so
easy.
If he doesn't play like that, OKC is going to smoke them. Jokic can't do it by himself. Aaron Gordon's been playing well. He's been coming alive. But yeah, ultimately it came down to Jamal Murray playing well, but also on the Clipper side, I didn't see enough of James Harden, Norman Powell, and more Kawhi. I needed more because Russell Westbrook, him outscoring James and Kawhi.
That's a crazy number.
He hit a bunch of threes. He hit a couple of threes, big time threes, but for him to outscore both of them.
That's not a good formula.
Remember when Malone got fired for playing Westbrook too much?
So I do remember that.
25 minutes and Pickett played 1 minute last night. How does that work?
But that always goes back to two, because it was either Calvin Booth was saying take Russell Westbrook out, and Malone was like no. So one of them was on Russell Westbrook's side, but they both got fired in the end.
Which is the right side, by the way. Look what this guy's doing. This guy's experience, this guy's production is unmatched. Like, you have to play a Russell Westbrook.
21 points off the bench, man. Like why were we questioning that?
Silly.
Why were y'all questioning that?
Big risk,
Ask
big
yourself.
reward.
Yeah, I don't get it. And plus, not only that, but he provides just such a pop in the building.
His energy.
Like everything about when he goes in there and does. It was so good. It was so good. All right, let's talk about the duos, because we got the Jimmy Steph. We know that. We got Luka LeBron. We got that as well. And again, maybe it goes back to the regular season performance of Jamal Murray that we sometimes just don't see. But as far as duos left in these playoffs, let's rank them. Let's list them, Chandler.
Well, you didn't mention the best ones. That's Tatum and Brown.
I always forget.
The defending champs, which is funny. No one ever mentions them, but they are probably the best duo. Then you have the Oklahoma City Thunder duo
fair.
with Jalen Williams and SGA. They're probably the two best backcourt.
Do we get a
guards.
Cavs duo out of this?
Then the Cavs with
There we
Donovan
go.
Mitchell, and then they're so deep, I don't even know who the second one would be, whether it's Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, whoever. But it's because of Jamal Murray's regular season struggle. It's because he's been banged up. He hasn't had the greatest regular season, but when you have Jokic and then you have a guy like this who is capable of going off for these 40-point games, the fact that he has more playoff 40-point games than Jokic or any Nugget ever is so impressive. And again, this is where they really take off. This is where they really get to the next level. Their offense has been so good all season long without this version of Jamal Murray. So they are impossible to guard. They have too many actions. They can shoot the ball. They can play through their big. They can play through the point guard. They play through the elbow. They have so many different actions that can hurt you. And when Jamal Murray is this efficient and this aggressive, it just takes their offense to another level. So as far as a duo, again, I think there's still a couple above them, but I mean, man, they have
third is not bad.
So
top five. Tatum, Brown.
They're probably top five.
They're top five.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're right above Cat and Brunson.
They're above Cat. Okay.
Brunson's good.
I'm fine with that.
And the people that are still alive. This are the duos that are still alive, right? Luka and Bron are there
we'll
right now.
see how that works.
We don't know how longer they're going to be alive.
Yeah.
Steph and Jimmy are very much alive.
They're
very good,
alive.
but I'd put Steph and Jimmy behind Luka and Bron, and then.
Really? Behind them?
Yeah.
I feel like you're giving Luka, if we're doing it based off of what we got going on right now, I think you're giving them too much credibility on just their legacies.
It could change tomorrow.
Like
Maybe
the
so.
active, what's happening right now, you're putting them
Maybe so. Yeah, that's why you got to put it in totality.
They got grandfathered in on
I
this.
can't base it off just
Luka
one
and
series.
LeBron both have 35 tonight, and they win and force a game.
Well, then we'll
6.
have this
tomorrow
conversation
they're
again
back
tomorrow.
in.
I have no problem with
It's
that.
hard doing a show every
It's
day.
fluid. This is
It's hard
all
always
fluid.
being right.
So I can't base it all off one game, one series. So in totality,
Okay.
Luka, Bron, and then Steph and Jimmy, and then you could put them right there at right behind Jalen and Jason. Yeah,
Like, yeah, all right,
Jalen, Jason,
4-ish.
Steph
Yeah.
and Jimmy, honestly.
I don't hate it. I mean, look,
Yeah,
it's a
4-ish,
good,
5-ish.
it's a really good list to be
Just
on.
shows you there's a lot of good teams. It doesn't have to be a big three or a duo. Like look at the Pistons. I don't even know who their second best player is, and they're still alive.
That changes every night.
Yeah.
That actually changes every single night, which we love. So look, we got to talk a little James Harden now, because if you've been watching this game long enough, you know James Harden in the playoffs sometimes are not simpatico, and last night was one of those. So yeah, 11 points on 9 shot attempts. I can remember playoff games where he just disappears, Chandler, and you hate to see it happen. He skipped availability for media this game and the last.
I don't love that.
So let's jump into this. What are
Here's
we
the
doing
thing: when
here?
you play good, own it. When you play bad, own it. And I just want to see him be more aggressive. Again, 9 shots for James Harden in a big game like this, 2-2, the series tied. It's not enough. And again, Kawhi has been great. Norman Powell's been great. Zubats was their best player last night. He's been unbelievable all series long. But there's the consistent guy with the ball in his hands has got to be James Harden. He's got to take care of the ball. Having 5 assists to 4 turnovers in a game when the series is tied like that is unacceptable. But I just want to see him back aggressive. Get to the free throw line. Do what you usually do. He's one of the most innovative, creative scorers that we've ever seen. Do that now on the big stage, because your team's going to need you. He's going to have to do it in Game 6 to force a Game 7. There's no one on that team that can guard him. He's got to get downhill. He's got to get to the free throw line and just take more shots. Like
Christian Brown did a decent
9
job.
shots is not enough.
Yeah, I'm with you, and he was the guy for me to watch last night, and I was hoping that he flipped the narrative, because he always
we're waiting on
has great, game 1, 2, or 3, or 1 and 3, whatever, 1, 2, and 4. Through 4 games, he's always pretty solid. 5, 6, and 7, people
Big
say
ones.
he kind of starts to fade away and be passive. I was hoping that last night he was more aggressive, like Chandler said. Whether it's even being pick and roll with Zubac, that 2-man game that's been working on. He's an all-star this year. So you are the point guard. You can control your shot taking and shot making. Well, not making, but shot taking. You can take more shots than 9. So yeah, I was hoping to see him more aggressive and not out there. But luckily there's still more basketball to play. But yeah, this was
It's a
game
phenomenon.
that I was hoping that he flipped it, and he didn't.
It's like psychologically with James Harden, it is a fascinating thing to watch in playoffs. Like, what happens?
It just goes to show how big a part of the mental aspect of the game.
Yeah,
is.
it's mental.
No matter how talented you are. How
But he
good
like
of a
wakes
player
up
you are.
on the day of Game 5 and 4 and just goes and forgets everything that he just
Last night
finished
they didn't
doing.
even guard him differently. They didn't.
Right.
People are going to force him right. People are going to trap him. They're still going to be. He's going to be guarded pretty much the same way, right? There could be something different.
Sure.
But, he's got to be more aggressive. Kawhi last night I feel like kind of floated throughout the game. Like he didn't do what he did when they were winning these games early on. So I think they definitely got to be more aggressive. And someone's got Chris Dunn. He's been a great defender. He's really opened up some eyes. He's got to kind of turn that water off Jamal Murray Game 6, because you can't allow him to go crazy like that again, because they're too good when he gets that.
He's going to have 37.
This is a testament of how hard the playoffs are and winning a championship is, because it's not just the physical, it's the mental.
The mental
staying
seems
locked
big.
in is not easy to do for 7 games or for 4 different series. So the teams that can do that, that have that mental fortitude or that mental stamina, are the ones that win. And it's just shown. Maybe, James, that stamina, he hasn't been able to keep that stamina.
Hate to see it.
Certain teams, usually you see it in immature teams, young teams, we're not able to stay locked in for 4, 5, 6, 7 games. But these guys are veterans.
If Rory can win the Masters this season, James can get over this.
He'll bounce
playoffs.
back. He'll respond.
He's going to
More
figure it out.
Give us the 7-game series.
Yeah, that's all we're asking. And a game winner, if you could, at the very end. Taking a quick break on the other side. He's back. Anthony Slater joins us. We're going to talk a little Warriors next.
Run it up, run it back.
And we're back.
Man, see, you have to learn to not say the words as we're coming back. But anyways, we are back. Danny, Chandler, me. We're going to be joined now by our friend, Anthony Slater. Can we get it over with, Anthony, this gorilla man thing? What is your take?
Ask ChatGPT,
That's
Anthony.
not the end all.
100 grown 6'8" men.
You
are
say 6'8", by the way. He's adding that.
I get to pick my 100, right? They are beating up a gorilla.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you better pick the right 100, but
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to pick the right 100. You think Bonnie Blue picked the right 1,000? No.
It probably matters which gorilla too. I mean, right? You know, I'm sure there's
the alpha gorilla.
Did you just bring up Bonnie Blue?
It's Wednesday. It's what I like to do. I like to reference pop culture, Anthony. I'm sorry. So you're going men. Everyone, you guys are wrong.
Yes.
Respect
just
nature,
bum
people.
rush them and jump the gorilla.
I'm telling you to respect nature. Sorry, we didn't mean to derail this.
I respect nature. I do.
I assume there's rules like no tranquilizers, no
no shanks.
That's the problem. Is men are going to ruin it by bringing their stupid little weapons. Yeah, I've seen Jurassic Park.
Can they wear pads?
Here.
No, you can't wear pads. Yes, you can wear armor.
I think I guess the idea of it, or the thought behind it, is that the men will outlast the gorilla. The gorilla will stand 100 of them.
Ladies. Okay, let's get started.
This is not part of the interview,
Sorry, Anthony. If you want to hang up and get technical difficulties, we understand.
Let's try this again.
Let's talk about Jimmy Butler, because he's amazing.
He's one of the 100, by the way.
He's in the group, comes back from injury, and then just averages 26, 6, and 6. So, playoff Jimmy. We have so many of these labels that we've given guys over the years. This one is legit, right?
He doesn't really like it that much, you know. He's yeah, I mean, he's just kind of like, not that he doesn't embrace it or acknowledge that he ups his scoring aggression in the playoffs, but I don't know. I mean, he's also talking about he's Robin, Batman. He's having quite a playoffs as far as it comes to media. But yeah, no, he was great the other night, playing with an injury that, by the way, they're saying he probably would have missed at least 1 to 2 weeks in the regular season. Like that. That pelvic contusion, glute contusion, whatever you want to call it, it's hurting him. And if you go back, he mentioned a play in the second quarter when he chased down Dillon Brooks and fouled him. You guys probably remember that.
Oh, yes.
He said, go watch me run back on defense in that play. He's like scooting, like he's like speed walking. So he's hurting right now, but he's playing.
They called it a clean foul, too, by the way.
Yeah.
That hurt me.
Anthony, after the game, Jimmy did say he got going because of Dillon Brooks started talking, which I don't know if I buy that. They probably got going because it's the playoffs.
I mean, it might help.
Your team needs you. But has Dillon Brooks, has his antics actually motivated the Warriors in a way, or is this just part of the game? Yeah,
I mean, you guys have played, so you probably would know how, as you said, how I guess artificial that is or not. But like, he definitely is one of the villains in the Warriors, long dynasty run. He gets the crowd going, and the crowd sometimes can get the players going. I'll tell you that. Like, they love to boo Dillon Brooks. And this goes back to, we're mentioning hard fouls. Y'all probably remember the hard foul he put on Gary Payton in that 22 Memphis series. Yeah. Broke Gary Payton's elbow. Like, to this day, that's still kind of, infuriates the Warriors a little bit how that all went down. But honestly, Dillon Brooks playing pretty well in this series. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't blame Jimmy Butler's 27 points on Dillon Brooks. I would blame the 3 free throws in the corner on him. I thought that was really ended up being the deciding foul.
Controversial. I mean, they didn't give Tim Hardaway the foul call.
They really didn't.
Yeah.
Funny how they learned 24 hours later.
The series has been very physical. Do you think that the referees have let it gone too far, the physicality?
Maybe. I mean, game 2, which is like oftentimes in playoff series from my experiences, when it gets ratcheted up, whichever the team lost, really comes, to try to, change the tenor of the series. And that is when Jimmy got hurt. But, Steve Kerr's point is they need to control it early in the game. You do few quick whistles early and maybe some of the physicality's going. But I don't know about y'all. I've really enjoyed these playoffs. And I know, there's been hard falls, and obviously Ja got hurt. Jimmy misses a game because of it. But this is high level, basketball. It's good theater. And I like the point totals. The Warriors and Rockets are struggling to get to 100. I don't know about y'all, but I've enjoyed it.
I love
90s basketball.
I love it, Anthony.
and I'll tell you this. Obviously, Dillon Brooks is doing what he's doing, but he's even getting Steph Curry taunting technicals, which the first one where they reviewed it, Dillon started talking, and then off the pick and roll where he fell down, he's kind of giving him the second foul thing. Do you like this version of Steph Curry? Do you like when he mixes it up and kind of gets into it with players like this? Or because we don't see it often.
Ever.
Yeah. Sixth playoff technical ever, actually, by Steph. First since 2019.
It's more than I'd think, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mike Conley, the guy I think has one tech his whole career.
First since 2019. That's 6 years ago.
He is. Steph kind of referred to it as the second sibling in a fight, where he said Dillon Brooks gave him that's a 1 foul on you, 2 possessions earlier. So he was just responding to that. And the truth about that technical is if the skirmish doesn't happen after, I don't think the refs give him the taunt. It's just that Dillon Brooks responded, and then it turns into a thing, and then you go review and go, hey, how did this all start? Okay, it was Steph saying 2 fouls. Because 2 fouls, like that's in the scale of like, you know, taunting, that's pretty low. But sure. I mean, I would say, to your point, like Steph Curry obviously has this, like, you know, Wonder Boy, Golden Boy type personality, but like there's a fierce fire within him that I think sometimes does show. You guys, I remember coming on this show earlier in the season, after, remember him and Isaiah Stewart towards the bench. We talked about that a little bit. Like he'll kind of step up to people. Yeah,
because I'm telling you, he has the baby face, so we don't think he's saying cutthroat things. But
and by the way, as a defender, when you see him shoot a 3 and look away, it'll get you going. Like he does subtle things that'll piss you off too. Yeah,
I love it. He's a weapon.
Yeah, he also has the night-night celebration, which I think is one of the colder celebrations in sports. Yeah. And by the way, that started in the 22 playoffs. He typically waits to end it when it's a closing of a series to do that. He has not busted it out in this series. But a closeout game when he knows he might really be putting.
Yeah, because he knows this series isn't over yet.
No.
Yeah, no, you can't. Right, you do that in like game 3, like you know that.
Imagine
can come
someone hitting him back with it. You gotta be.
Draymond's gonna pull it out.
Be careful with that.
No, it could be.
Draymond will pull it out early. You know,
they call that, Moses Moody calls that the nightmare. It's dreams with Steph, and Draymond's is the nightmare.
That's pretty good. I do like that. So the Jimmy thing, obviously, we're all going to be watching every movement when he's running back and forth. The game 4, he was in a lot of pain. Sometimes adrenaline can also help. What are we expecting now in game 5 as far as his pain threshold and how it'll affect him?
Yeah, he's listed as probable. I think it's going to be similar, like probably, you know, regular season type scoring aggression in the first couple quarters, right? I think he took 4 shots and scored like, you know, whatever, 7 points in the first half. The other night, 20 points in the second half. They really needed him in the fourth. I think he scored 14 in the fourth. So I would expect something similar. He needs to get warmed up a little bit, but he doesn't play the style of game. It's why he's aging so well. He doesn't play the style of game that needs, you know, leaping ability, a bunch of like athleticism. It's very kind of tricky and smart scoring and powerful. And he has a high pain tolerance, let's be honest. I mean, that really matters.
Yeah, and get to the free throw line. Yeah. Speaking of Steph had 36, not last night, but the other night, the night previous to that. Steve Kerr called him one of the greatest of all time. Why is he not spoke of or mentioned when in that category of one of the GOATs? Why is he not mentioned in the GOAT conversation?
I think you're starting to hear it. I mean, right, even this segment, you know, bringing it up. I think Shaq brought it up recently. The run he's on, which to me, the 22 finals was like, you know, it was such a seminal moment for him, you know, beating Boston, getting the finals MVP, which was one of the last things he needed to check off his resume. And then this summer, right, I think he hadn't played in the Olympics yet. He not only gets gold, but he did it in such a spectacular way with that gold medal game. If he can get a 5th title here with like kind of a 3rd version of the Warriors, well, I would even say a 4th version of this Warriors team, that you would probably start to hear him in that conversation. I think to your question, statistically, because he was later in his career, right, he played multiple years at Davidson. He had injuries early in his career where he missed a lot of games. It was just like a slower statistical start to his career. So I don't think, you know, you look at some of like LeBron's point totals, he's not reaching that level. But if you just look at 3-point numbers and then, you know, some of the resume, you know, categories he's building later in his career, I think you might start to hear him kind of nudge into that conversation.
Anthony, we got to talk a little bit about Buddy Hield. He's been unbelievable for the Warriors, averaging, you know, I think over 16 points the last 2 games. He gets the start last game. Do they keep him in the starting lineup moving forward? We all know how valuable his shooting is.
Yeah.
It's there to stay?
It's matchup based, but against Houston, I believe yes, because Houston started the series putting Sengun on Moses Moody. And you know how, like, you know, you figure stuff out within series. The Warriors coaching staff has figured out they won't put Sengun on Buddy Hield because he's a movement shooter. You don't want Sengun out there, you know, chasing him off screens, pin down, stuff like that. So they could just rearrange Houston's matchups the way they want. If Buddy Hield's out there, and it's worked. They started really well both halves with that lineup the other day, so I would really expect Buddy Hield to start tonight. And he's shooting it well, he's playing well, he's keeping everybody loose. You know, they're calling him. I was talking to Steph, Draymond the other day. They're like, they were ranking him as like a top 3 funniest teammate they've ever had in this era. And you're seeing it with him and Jimmy Butler. I mean, the insults are just flying every day between them.
Yeah, how fun is that, by the way? I do love a good sort of bromance banter situation.
His
how much
voice
fun are you
alone
having?
makes me laugh.
The shirt, the excluding Buddy shirt, like everything looks fun.
Yeah, and well, Buddy really embraces it, and it has been funny, and it's really started like the moment Buddy got or I would say Jimmy Butler got into the locker room, where, you know, especially with what happened in Miami, I think he was coming in with everybody on eggshells a little bit. You know, you don't know what type of personality you're going to get, and right when he got there, Buddy Hield was just ripping him. You know, outwardly in the locker room, and everybody's laughing, and it allowed Jimmy to kind of use, like, to me, he uses Buddy as, like, you know, the guy he gets, you know, some of his insults on, and then they started taking it public, right? It started being in all these interviews and stuff. So it's been
now.
pretty funny to watch.
It's Buddy.
It's his buddy.
It's
Switching
Buddy.
gears, Draymond.
Oh.
Back in February, on national TV, said that they will win an NBA championship. Is this something that you could see happening now? Like, now that they've acquired Jimmy and things have rolling, they're playing pretty well against Houston. Is this something that you can see happening with this team? Is this a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at just like the statistical resume since Jimmy's arrival, I think at this point they're probably like 29-8, you know, top 5 defense, top 10 offense type thing. Like, it's been, you know, contender level basketball with this group. I think that they backed into a really fortunate path. I think Houston was the ideal first round opponent because of what they can't do in the half court offense. At this point, I think we would all favor them to get by Houston. You're looking at probably Minnesota in the next round, maybe the Lakers. Like, you know, that's Warriors will at least be considered, you know, a toss-up series there. We could see them winning that. So then you're talking about maybe being in the Final Four. You know, like Oklahoma City looks like a Goliath over there. Like, I'm not predicting that they're going to necessarily beat them, but once you get towards the Final Four, and I think there's a very realistic shot they're in that, we know who's on the team. We know the playoff history of Steph, Draymond, and like the way they try to like hunt these titles down. Like, you gotta, you know, I believe Draymond a lot more than I did then. I think last time I was on the show, I was kind of asked a similar question. I compared it to the Water Boy, that scene in the Water Boy, but it's a little bit like you're looking over, like, okay, you know, you might have been onto something.
I know.
I will say, how that 3-8 worked out, you just knew, wow, this is very favorable for the Warriors.
Interesting. Speaking of Draymond, by the way, I had a vision before Game 4, Anthony. I was like, he could get ejected tonight, and then he almost did, and I was like, ooh, I'm a witch.
I think everybody had that vision.
No, I felt it. I saw it in my mind. And then, you know, obviously Kerr's calling him an instigator, and then he's a lightning rod and all those things. Funny that they're in a series with Dillon Brooks, but is he still the biggest instigator in this league?
Probably. And, you know, we mentioned the theater of the playoffs, like, you know, good movies, good, you know, drama need villains. And he kind of embraces that heel role. And, you know, especially in Chase Center, it's like the villain that is loved. Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of his job. You know, he's the emotional engine of the Warriors. He always has been. He does not mind an arena that, you know, we know what it's going to be like tonight in Houston. Remember the chants the last time they were in this building. But you know, he has to. He always kind of toes the line. It's like, you know, they need him to get as close to like the fence that will electrocute you without getting electrocuted. And, you know, he got close to that fence the other night, right? If the referees just decide that's a double T in the Tari Eason situation, he's ejected, and they probably lose because Sengun killed them when Draymond was off the floor. Yeah. And when Draymond's on the floor, he can't score. So they need him in the game, but they also, as he will say, he can't be a toned down version of himself.
Right.
Like a toned down version of himself isn't good.
Just not him.
Anthony, I hate to even ask anything negative about the Warriors right now because they are rolling. They're up 3-1, but the whole Jonathan Kuminga situation is interesting. And with Jimmy back, he's got his second coach's decision DMP. It's a guy that had a great year. When guys were out and he was the main guy, he was unbelievable. Do you expect to see Kuminga on the Warriors next year? Because I know he was a critical piece to keep, but now with Jimmy Butler, there's no real room for him. And they're finding minutes for guys like Santos and everyone else, except the guy that was their third leading scorer all year long. So do you see him on the Warriors next year?
It's a good question. You know, restricted free agency is tricky. It'll probably depend on how these playoffs end, you know, how much Joe Lacob potentially is willing to spend. Joe Lacob, who was part of the Jonathan Kuminga draft pick, still values Jonathan Kuminga long term and typically is willing to pay. I don't believe he's going to want to let that asset walk for nothing. And you know, if it's a reasonable contract, it's a match and it's a, hey, try to figure this thing out, because Kuminga still has a ton of talent. But on at this particular moment on this team, they just don't seem to think he can fit the role player stuff. The Guy Santos, hey, come off the bench for 4 minutes and just hustle around and get an offensive rebound. It reminds me a little bit in a smaller way of the Jason Tatum situation this summer in the Olympics where, you know, I think Steve Kerr was just of the belief if Jason Tatum on the floor is the 4th or 5th option, he would prefer a Derek White in that type of role where it's like, you know, defend, hustle, rebound, cut, do that type of stuff because the ball's not going to be in your hands. And I just see that with the Kuminga situation where it's like, hey, if they're not handing him the ball because like Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry are out there most of the time, they'd just rather have guys out there that you know, master the small stuff. And it looks strange. It's odd to see a guy with that type of talent getting DMPs, but they are winning, so it's tough to, you know, demand something different.
Can't argue it. You cannot argue it. Anthony, enjoy Houston. I hope this series goes as long as possible because it's fun, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, appreciate
All right,
it.
thank y'all.
We'll be right back.
Run it back.
Detroit basketball.
Yeah, JB.
Yeah, it happened, y'all. In the Garden, the Pistons stay alive. Okay, so you know what? We don't know all that. Can we just get to the part here where you got Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson on the sidelines trying to get back into this game? What happened?
Yeah, it's way too long. You can't leave your best player and Josh.
I mean, I get they were hurt. Like both had sort of been.
But still,
like,
they were available. I don't care if you burn your
playoffs.
last time out or if you have more. It is your playoffs. This season is possibly over if you put them in the game and you win this game. There's no excuse to leave them out this long. I don't care if you have to burn your last time out. You have to do it to get them back in the game. And you can look at this like this possibly cost them a game and maybe this series. Again, this is a closeout situation.
Sure.
All cards on deck. Everything's out. We have to get our best players in the game. So this hurts.
Yeah, similar to the Orlando situation with Paolo Banchero. Okay. They let him sit, even he had 5 fouls. This last game of the season for them. Like, you're going to get close. You can't let Boston go on the way they did last night. But Knicks.
That was crazy.
They said Detroit go on a run or play without those guys on the floor. They capitalized. They took advantage of it. You can't let them sit for that long. No matter how, you know, Jalen Brunson's ankle, he always has some type of ankle injury, but he plays through it. Him on a hurt ankle is better than, you know, the guys that are not ready on the bench.
That ankle injury was also weird when the video looked
yeah,
like
what?
the floor.
Did the floor break?
They need
what
to upgrade
happened?
MSG because that floor looked like it moved.
It was like water warped or something. Yeah, no, that was a weird one. The announcers even sounded a little flabbergasted. Like, why are they both still in spectator mode, standing over there watching this entire thing? But the good news is Pistons live to see another day.
I heard they left some stuff there. They're planning on going back to the Garden, Michelle,
be 3-2.
for 7
That's
games.
so. What do you mean they left some stuff there?
It could be 3-2 Detroit right now.
What do you mean left some stuff there?
Like in the locker room because they plan on going back
like
for Game 7.
okay.
Yeah,
You know the whole doc story put stuff in the ceiling.
exactly.
Yeah, but he said it so weird and like shady. Are we taking a quick break and coming back, rounding things up? That's what we're gonna do. We'll be right back. Well, down the road, you guys, Lakers are going to try to stay alive tonight against the Timberwolves. You know what? Real quick, Chandler, let's start with you. What happens? We got a minute.
I think the Lakers get this game.
Stay alive?
I think they're too good to lose 4-1. There's too much on the line. The trade, everything, they've been playing good. I think they need to defend. LeBron James has got to be great tonight. Luka's got to be great tonight. I think they get it at home.
I'm with Chandler on this
Feels
one.
like it.
I think I mean, the fan in me also wants me to extend the series, but I think they do it anyway. I mean, if there's a team that can come back 3-1, that's right. I don't think they will come back through, but they will extend it. They'll get
Really? So you think Minnesota wins the series, but the Lakers win tonight?
I'll tell you this. You know Anthony Edwards wants to end it tonight in LA.
In front of
dance on
everybody.
their
So
grave.
3 games in a row, I don't see them losing 3 games in a row.
That's a great
Who's
match.
got a better chance to come back, the Rockets or the Lakers? Down 3-1.
The Lakers.
The Lakers.
Yeah.
But even then, it doesn't feel like a great chance.
Neither one of them.
Which
they're
is
both,
fine.
They're both going.
It is just
Nico Harrison's somewhere like
after all the
lighting
drama,
candles.
after all the stuff, if the Lakers just lose 4-1 to the Timberwolves,
Then we can all shut up till next year?
Not a good look. Not
But
a
a
good
great look for others. Let's take a break forever. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the games tonight. Thanks, Danny.
Run it back, run it up, run it back, yeah.